Welcome to Early. My guest today is David Phelps. David needs no real introduction. David is the founder of JokeDAO. We decided we're not going to do an introduction today. He's just going to talk his game. How's it going, man?
Good, yeah, and Alpha Leak, although we'll see by the time that if it's still an Alpha Leak by the time this drops. Co-founder of Joke Race, new name. So
sweet. How's that? How's Joke Race going?
Really good. We're working on our V3 right now, which is going to be just a lot cleaner, simpler flow for anybody to be able to make decisions with communities like of tens of thousands of people if they want to. So. It's going to be a lot less constrained than what we've had to date, and it's going to be a lot easier to use. And so, really just excited by that.
That's amazing. So? I'm not 100% clear. Is Joke Race, JokeDAO, is there protocol and application? Like, how would you classify it?
Yeah, so it's on-chain contests to make, execute, and reward decisions. And so, the quickest way of saying this is like. Someone creates a contest with a prompt like, hey, who do we want to invite into our community? Or, hey, who wants to build this project? Or, like, hey, what do you think is going to happen in the economy this week, right? And then people can all submit responses to that prompt, and then people can all vote on their favorites. And that's it. And then from there, you can have a rewards pool that pays out, and you can decide who submits responses and who votes, right? So if you want to, say, anybody can submit, a hackathon project and then a jury just votes on their favorites. Like that's one option, right? So you can do award ceremonies, film festivals, like things like that with that model. Like a whole community submits, just a jury votes. But you could also go like the other way, right? You could have like core team go to their community and say, hey, here's some different, versions of what we're thinking about for proposal. Voting your favorite, and then the whole community votes on like what they think their favorite is. So you can use it for, or you go to your community and say like, what features do you want us to build? We'll give $5,000 to the winner, and incentivize everyone just to write in. So that's all it is. It's just on-chain contest. Yeah.
That's so. What's been your favorite so far? Like just most obscure, like out of the box
use case.
Yeah,
they're one of my all-time favorites, I think. So we got like a lot of serious use cases, from like Gitcoin and MakerDAO and like Developer DAO, like, refining their communities and amendments and proposals. And that was really cool. But like ultimately, when you get the contest that says we're creating an imaginary creature called a Slurtle, what do we want to name the Slurtle? And there's no context on what a Slurtle is. I also don't know who created this contest. I'm looking at this. Yeah. I'm scrolling down. There's like dozens of answers. They're like, it's got to be Girdle the Slurtle. And then someone else is like, no, it's Myrtle the Slurtle. And I was like, this is an incredible application of on-chain technology. Like this is why crypto wins.
I mean, that's what you had in mind when you created it, right?
Yeah, there we go. It's jokes all the way down.
So besides development and running these projects, you're kind of a full-time shit poster on Twitter.
And, Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that.
By far, like one of my favorite sources of entertainment on crypto Twitter. I look for your tweets every day.
Amazing. Oh my God.
I'm gonna hold you to task on a few. I need some clarification, man. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I'll say this.
They're all written by AI. I've never looked at any of them, and I have no idea.
You've never actually written
it. Okay. This will be interesting for me to actually read what my tweets are. Yeah, it'll be the first time.
All right. To do that. Well, your pinned tweet says, "Remember, Twitter showbiz," and I mean that's the best approach, right? Because that is what it is. All right, so here's a tweet from you. I don't know why VCs are worried about getting returns. If I were a VC, I'd just throw cash at anyone who agreed to spot me a cool million from my investment to make me an advisor. Win-win, all sides, and boom, returns.
Boom, returns. Yeah, this is okay. So this is obvious, right? It's like, how do we alleviate economic, inequality? Well, it's like VCs are in a perfect position to alleviate economic inequality because they are the go-betweens between the ultra rich, their LPs who have like billions of dollars, and then like, the like poor founders of the world. And so it's like, a good VC should just take all the money from the rich people, give it to the poor founders, right? And then just take a cut. And that's it. And so like, it's not that hard. You just say, I'm going to invest in any founder out there, give them millions. I'll give them $3 million for whatever your project is. All you have to do is just personally give me $1 million back to my bank account and we're good to go. I make money, you make money, we alleviate economic inequality, baby. Like this is just great politically.
Well, you're an investor, right?
Yeah, I have an investor.
So what's
I'm
holding
an
you back?
angel though. It's my own money. That's the problem. Like this only works if you're investing other people's money, right?
Okay.
Because like effectively you want to get rid of their money and give it to yourself. Like that's just crazy that VCs aren't doing that. They're actually making money for their investors instead of just stealing it. It's
Yeah.
wild.
But yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure. So what are you actually looking to invest in, and what sort of criteria are you looking for
Yeah.
in investments? Yeah.
So I actually almost all my angel investments these days are in infrastructure. So I'm building, I guess, more on a kind of consumer side of like, thinking what is an actual use case for crypto that any person in the world might actually want to use and like be able, creators could use to monetize. And so like my day job in building is very much on a kind of creator economy side. But I'd say as an investor, I'm really interested in the kind of tech that will enable that long term. And so I'm really interested in the infrastructure. So I'd say like that boils down to like a few categories. And if I had to like really limit it to say like, what are the big categories I'm excited by and like I spend a lot of time thinking about. ZK Tech is definitely one. I would say IBC coming out of Cosmos as like just, or any sort of cross-chain messaging protocols. Yeah, that's really exciting to me, and that's been a big focus. MEV is still the use case, whether we like it or not, and a really powerful tool. So that's another one. And then I would say Arweave ecosystem as well. And
what was the last one? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
The Arweave ecosystem.
Okay.
As well.
That's
and so
those, I'm not very familiar with Arweave.
Yeah. So Arweave usually like presents itself as being like perpetual storage. So it's like if you have any content that you want to like store out there, right? You can use AWS or you could use like Arweave, and Arweave is the decentralized way of doing it, where it's hosted across people around the world, almost like a torrent service. But I think what gets lost a lot in discussions of Arweave is that it's a blockchain. Like it's just a very different type of blockchain from any kind of blockchain we've seen before. Like the way to think about this is like financial blockchains, which is what we're used to, like have to verify state. Like the state of all balances, like at every block. Because like if one person gained $100, another person lost $100. And so you have to account for that across every single account that's out there, right? Because as soon as one person's gone up by 100, you have to find that other person who's gone down by 100 and account universally across every single account, right? And what's cool with like content is that like you're storing a book and someone else is storing a movie. Like there isn't that dependency. It's not like that movie, being stored depends on the book being stored, and so you don't need to verify the entire state of like all of the accounts at once. What you could do is you could just say, hey, let's check in every half hour, like let's just make sure that book is still there, right? And so
kind of like Dropbox for on-chain Dropbox sort of thing,
like a decentralized Dropbox, right? And so it just like alleviates the costs of transactions. So it's like right now, blockchains as we know them are very, very good for transferring money or doing anything with DeFi. No one wants to like store an image on any blockchain. Even, a cheap L2, it's going to be very expensive to store an image there because it's like you would have to verify that image every single block, right? And it's just like it's a massive amount of data. And so like having something like Arweave just lets you have a blockchain for that. And then that offers a lot of opportunities in terms of provenance and setting royalties and like composability for anybody to be able to draw on it, ensuring that it's still there. And I think like even so something I've started thinking about is like as a builder, which is like if you want to build a social media site in Web 2, you have to store all of your users' data, right? It's like if they upload an image to your social media site, like you have to store that image somewhere. And so you start incurring massive
that costs Twitter money to store videos, images.
Huge. And so then you have to like subsidize that cost, right? You have to think like, well, how am I going to pay for all of these costs for these users? And the answer is like, I'll harvest their data and sell it to advertisers, right? Like, and that makes sense. It's like
or fundamentally a small fee, right?
You can try that, but that's the interesting thing with Twitter right now, going towards the subscription model, because we haven't really seen social media do it before. And so it's like, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But right, it's like traditionally your users are giving you their data, and then you own the data because you have to pay for it as a service. And it makes sense as users. We're like, yeah, we don't own our own data because it's like we're not paying for our own data, right?
Right.
But it's like, what if you have a Web3 social media platform built on Arweave, and it's like really exciting. Lens just announced that they're now building on Arweave and Bundler, right? Which is really cool. And it's like now you can imagine when people upload that image, maybe they pay the costs, which are quite low for the storage of that image, but they also get all the rights to it. Like now they also can personally monetize that. They can sell it, they can trade it, right? And it's like if that social media platform gives them the tools to monetize that, you now have this like really exciting new model where anybody can whip up a social media site for cheap because they won't have to pay all the costs of user data, and users now own their own content in ways that they can monetize as well. And so like that's why I get excited by Arweave, right? Is like thinking
That's super cool. Yeah, and I love the applications of being able to take your data across platforms, of course. And if you do have a constant stream of revenue, fees can just come right off the top of that, or it's sort of like an ongoing flow of funds without the owner of the data even having to be concerned with it.
Completely,
like,
right?
They're not even involved in any transaction. It's all automated, right?
And that's where it gets really beautiful. Is like you imagine a future where you've decoupled creation from distribution. Like anybody creates a sweatshirt and then they don't have to sell it. They don't have to create a shop to sell it. They just put it out there as an NFT, and then any shop can sell that and there's like, on-chain royalties attached to it. This is all very theoretical, right? But it's like, once you've decoupled those two pieces, it's like you as a creator, you can just focus on creating shit, and then someone else can focus on finding and selling it. And so like I think that's also where it gets exciting to imagine this future where it's like Arweave is the provenance chain. It's like everyone's just uploading their ideas there, and then others can go index, find them, curate them, sell them, and the creator still gets a cut, right? And like that's nice. A really cool vision, I think, for Web3 that's only possible with something like Arweave. You can't do that with AWS.
Right. Yeah, where does ownership and copyrights fall into all that?
Yeah, so that's the key thing is like it, will Arweave become the provenance chain? Like, you uploaded it there, you have proof that you uploaded it there, use a DK proof like for anyone who creates a derivative of it, and you now have some sort of enforceability to be able to say, hey, anyone who uses this, I want to be able to like enforce rights on this. So you look at like what Grimes was doing over the past week of being like, I want to let anybody, remix my music, and then like we'll, sell it and I get a cut, right? That's going to be a lot easier at the very least if you do that on Arweave, where you have like a full on-chain proof of like provenance, who created it, who edited it, who has new versions, and how those have like derived from each other as well. So it's kind of a mix of like Arweave plus ZK is I think the long-term answer to that, which gets really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Anytime it gets into this conversation of provenance recently, I keep on defaulting to AI. Like have you? What do you think of the new Biggie album?
Right, right.
Crazy.
Yeah, Biggie's back, baby.
Biggie's back.
Biggie can't die. Yeah,
we could talk on that for hours, I think. But let's go back to blockchain. So what problems do you think in the next year or two? Yeah. I'll even say next 5 years. Does blockchain technology really solve for in American life for the everyday person?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing is to say, is American life really, the culture that needs blockchains the most also, right? Like it's a lot easier when you step outside of America to make the case for blockchain. Because like we have a banking system that is, problematic and like not great in a lot of ways. And like I spent 2 hours on the phone with Bank of America trying to confirm a wire yesterday while they accused me of dealing with scammers. But like and doing it by giving them information that any AI with my voice could easily give, right? Like it's not as though they actually have the security of that process. Sure, I have lots of frustrations with banks, but it's like, you go to places that are bankless, like, and don't have banks, and it's like, the opportunities for blockchain is so great there. So I like this question because you're doing it on hard mode, like to say like, why do Americans need this, right?
Why do we need this shit, right?
Right, like I think that puts it on hard mode. I really think about it as like creating new opportunities for the creator economy is a lot of where like my focus is, and I think categories that we've called stuff like governance before Governance is a creator economy category. Like, and we need to start thinking about it that way. So like governance is like, the way we think about it is like, oh, you're creating the state with all these rules and rituals and, you know, constitutions, etc., like on chain, and then it's contentious and like most people don't want to get involved, and then other people do, but they're mean and they're attacking each other in the forums, and then there's no real way to build consensus around ideas, right? And so there's just like a lot of room for improvement for anybody to be able to come up with like smart contracts to govern their organization in a way that like sets payments clearly, lets anyone whip up an organization clearly, like as a use case. But my answer to that would be like, you know, again, go to the Grimes use case. Like what is Grimes doing? She's like running a contest, you know, to say like, who's gonna, you know, like create a version of my work that will then draw more value to the original because I'm incentivizing derivatives, and also like get a lot of people engaged in order to vote. You look at what Fred again has been doing. Like, why is Fred again taken off as this major DJ? Fred again does like contests where he drops beats and he has his like audiences remix them, right? And so it's like, this is so, and like, what is that if not governance? Like that is all just a governance process of being able to say, let anybody submit like their own ideas and then vote on their favorites, right? Which, okay, this is a shill because that's what I'm building. But like, I think like, you know, once you realize that like, in the DAO world, everyone's like, governance is broken, it's not working, everyone hates each other, we can't get amendments passed. And then you look at Grimes or Fred again, and you're like, wait, governance is working really well. Like it's really effective, right? But it's done in this way that no one thinks about it as governance. Like everyone thinks about it as, you know, fun contests to be able to like be a creator, and for, you know, user generated content to the next level is user generated curation or user curated content, right? And so I think like that's where on-chain gets really powerful, because like on-chain is like a way to automatically let anyone get the provenance of that, compete permissionlessly, build reputation, right? Have easy financial rails in order to fund and receive these permissionlessly, and then ultimately execute services as well. So that it's like an open API where it's like any decision you make then executes on another service as well. And I think it's like, it's really the reputation piece that will, I think, drive a lot of people over long term into doing stuff on chain, where it's like
reputation, you know, credibility, trust sort of thing.
Well, and also like your rights to future rewards, right? It's like you think about the problem like every L2 has, where it's like they need to decentralize their token and figure out who to distribute it to. And so they do these terrible airdrops where they're like giving it to rando bots, right? Because there's no good reputation, you know, protocol out there to know who's actually a useful contributor. It's not just like who's human. Who's human is like, who cares? Some AI will be better than some humans. It's like who's a meaningful contributor, right? And like being able to build out that data, and being able to like, you know, actually have use cases where people are building reputation. That's what I'm thinking about with what we're building, where it's like, yeah, people might participate in these contests. They might lose, like they might not get anything, but like, meanwhile, they've shown that they are regularly participating in ideas that they tend to vote for with other people who share their interests. And you've now created this like, you know, almost like permissionless social network for anybody to be able to get together, work together, collaborate like on shared ideas, right? So like and then maybe down the line, you know, if you know, participated in a hackathon and you built a project that then other people use, and you have an on-chain like, you know, record of that, then when that L2 is going to decentralize their token, they can easily see who they should decentralize to, and they can see you're a valuable builder. And then that creates the incentive loop, right? Because like the moment that starts happening, where people start getting rewards based on the reputation they built on chain, that's the moment when everyone else is, oh shit, we've been missing out. We should have been building everything on chain, because then we would have gotten access to
instead of trading shit coins, right?
Instead of trading shit coins, right? Like, so we're in this bad era right now where it's like people are getting rewarded for absolute shit activity on chain, because there is no other activity to participate in. Like our imaginations are limited. The only thing you can do is buy shit coins. But like, there's a lot of other shit you can do on chain, and it's going to create a feedback loop where the more that people do it, the more they're incentivized to do it.
Yeah. Have you seen that applied to an airdrop or like I guess like a token generating experience, I guess?
I think the closest is probably like optimism, when they rewarded people for like participating in grants. Right. And it's like at that point, I'm sure there were a lot of people who are like, oh, we should participate in Bitcoin grants, because like that might get us a future airdrop, right, from another protocol. And so like it's a really good
definitely going down the right path.
Yeah. I mean, think of like what we did with with JokeDAO is like now Joke Race, but like with JokeDAO is like we said make your Twitter bio JokeDAO Maxi, and we'll give you free voting tokens every week. And it's like through Guild, you can connect that Twitter bio to an on-chain address and then reward people permissionlessly for any activity they take on Twitter, right? Like that's the power of Guild, which is just really cool. But it's like now we have people shilling us all across the internet because we have a way to tie that to an on-chain address and give them rewards for doing that. And the rewards are meaningless, like they're valueless. They're just weekly voting tokens, but it's still like you still get to participate in this game, and that's fun for people to do, right? So
For sure.
that's the kind of stuff where it's like, yeah, you do start to see these incentive flywheels, but they just take time to build, but they're going to build exponentially. And I think that 3 or 4 years from now is what's going to like dominate.
Yeah. And by the way, you said people say that DAO governance is shit. I think the real issue with DAO governance is lack of leadership. A lot of DAOs mistook the idea of communal or community decision making for not actually needing leadership. You still need Grimes still needs to like set the table for a vote or for like a decision. And actually be the architect of the community, right? And then involve people in the decision. Do we go right or do we go left?
I think that's a great way to think about it. Is like, what does a creator look like in Web3 versus like Web2 versus Web1 or whatever? And like, the creator isn't necessarily the star. The creator is the dungeon master, right? And I think it's like the leader is not the one who makes the decisions. The leader is the one who sets the framework for everyone else to be incentivized to make decisions, right? And like that's why Grimes is a really good leader, is because Grimes is giving you this like, it's almost like a scavenger hunt. She's like, here's a hint. You need to go off and like complete the mission, right? And so it's like it's now in your hands to be the creator. It's your hands to be the star. Like, and I think like that's it's almost like a reality TV show. It's like Grimes is setting the framework for all of her fans to be the stars rather than for her to be the star, which is like that's how DAO governance should run. Like a DAO leader, right, should be setting the framework for everybody else to want to be able to make these decisions and participate in a way that's meaningful to them.
Are you actually banned from Solana?
I am banned from the Solana Discord. Yes. My last name has the word help in it. Phelps has an H-E-L-P in the middle of it.
That was a tweet. I just pulled up the tweet.
True. Yeah, I got banned from MakerDAO as well for that one, and then they graciously let me back in.
Okay, well.
So that reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not a Solana maxi because I never got to be part of that community.
Love Solana, can't participate.
I actually do love Solana, but yeah, I might love it more if it was part of the community.
If you're allowed to be in the room.
Yeah.
Let's see. You don't only tweet, you also have do some real writing, right?
Yeah.
Your blog, three quarks.
Yeah.
A piece you did called Bailout Brink, I think about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
A quote you said, 2008 was the year that bifurcated generations. What are the parallels between then and now? Where do you see this going?
I think something, so it's interesting, right? Like I'm in my mid 30s. A lot of my friends in crypto are in like their early 20s. Some are in their mid 40s, right? But it's like something we talked about a lot in 2021 was like the generations of crypto tend to be not based on your age, but when you got into it. And so it's like the class, right? The class of 2014 is like Bitcoin libertarians. Like they're very big in believing like state should not have any intervention. Like we should have complete individualism and freedom, right? Class of 2017 is like more maybe like somewhat DeFi supply chain focused, or class of 2020 is like very communal and DAO focused, and it's very in many ways very opposed to the class of 2014, right? And so you have these like generations that appear not based on age, but based on when people got into the space. And I think that gets interesting to think about because it's like, is that happening broadly in culture? Like, is there a way that subcultures have become so powerful thanks to the internet that people's relationship to each other is not based on their age the way that it has been for the past 100 years, but based on their participation in this weird thing. And like I experienced that because I come from a background of like cinephilia, whereas like I was getting really into like old films, and it's like my friends were like, you know, in their 60s, you know, when I was doing that. And it's like those are the people I would talk to all the day because we have this shared interest. And so yeah, this question of bifurcating generations, it's like definitely something that can happen repeatedly when you like graduate college on the precipice of like, you know, history changing or whatever.
Sure.
But I think it's also like an interesting thing to think about where it's like I have a friend who's 23 and I was talking to her and she's like, it's so crazy to me I'm 23 because I hang out with my other 23-year-old friends who are like Instagram or whatever, and I just don't really relate to them. It's like, you know, I'm relating to people who are like all working on coordination problems and, you know, new governance design incentives. And so it's like, it is also this interesting thing to think like, what is a generation right now? Like obviously Gen Z has massive differences from millennials and like is transforming things, but it's like, we're incentivized as a culture to want to create generations based on age because it's really good for consumption.
And a marketing ploy.
It's a marketing ploy. And it is interesting to me to wonder like, to what degree is that make sense? Like, you know, you come of age in the same experiences and the, you know, that form you historically, etc. And to what degree is that a psyops because it's like actually the subcultures are what are defining people much more.
So I suspect that there will be in each generation in the crypto space tends to bloom or blossom or, you know, originate around a bull market, right?
Yep.
So next bull market, what's that generation going to look like and what are they going to value?
Right. And how will they like look at my class of 2020 or whatever and be like, man, you guys are idiots, you know, like you guys really get it. And I mean, yeah, Peter Pan had that really good tweet. Jill Gunter has talked about this too. It's like, if you're in crypto for the long run, you have to reinvent your beliefs every 2 years. Like, because it's like the tech changes so much and the roadmaps change so much. And it's like, and you have to become an idiot all over again. Because it's like suddenly you have to learn about all these new things that totally upend whatever your thesis was. And you have to be humble. And so it's like, it is really hard for the OGs. It's like they've built a following. They were important. People love them. And it's like for them to have to rescind all their beliefs because better technology has come along is difficult. But there are some who do that. And I think, they deserve a lot of praise. Like it's pretty impressive to do that.
Isn't that society in general though? I mean, you know, older people who are stuck in the 50s and, you know, people who are 75 years old and they're listening to hip hop, you know,
it's true. It's just like, it feels accelerated, right? As the cycles are like now 2 years instead of 20 years.
True. Yeah.
Like that's how quickly you have to refine and redefine yourself like in crypto, which is really wild. Maybe that's just going to be true for everything now because everything is just accelerated through technology.
Yeah, I think so. And this next generation probably will have some basis in AI. I mean, AI is going to shape a lot of people's philosophy and theories on almost everything going forward.
Totally. Yeah, your way of writing has just totally changed now.
Yeah. More than writing, I mean, right? Like organizing your life, transportation, I don't know. There's so many possibilities. Here's another tweet.
I use it for music recs. It's really good for music recs.
Just recommendations?
Because like what AI's done, like what I realized is like AI has like gone through all the forums out there. So it's like, I don't know, if you're into classical music, you could be like, you know, what's the best version of, you know, Mahler's Ninth that I should listen to? And it's going to give you like, you know, 5 versions that are good. But like, what's also cool is like, it's gone through all these forums of these music buffs and whatever that are out there who are all trading notes on what they listen to. And a lot of those forums are in other languages. And so like when you're asking AI to tell you what you think, it's like, it's effectively, this is another one of my tweets, right? But it's like effectively like translating all of these thoughts from other cultures and then condensing them for you. So it's just like, it's an incredible organizational assistant because it's like, hey, go out, search the entire internet in every language. Let me know what you find.
That's pretty amazing. My biggest issue with AI as of this point is how do you differentiate the noise from the actual signal, like the truth, I guess. How do we get to the truth?
And And that's where it's this crazy thing where AI is really good at subjectivity and really bad at objectivity. And like, so I was talking to a friend of mine who's like a mathematician, and
Yeah.
he's like very bearish in AI. Because he's like, it can't do math. It's like, I'm asking it to, you draw analogies of like, the different, from the center of a cell to an electron, like what would be the equivalent if I had like holding up, a pencil as
Sure.
the nucleus, like what would be the equivalent of electron, how
Yeah,
far away
sure.
would that be? It can't do it. Like anything that's
Really?
computation,
Uh-huh.
it can't do computation, right? Because it's based entirely off of like pattern matching. So it's just like pattern matching what other people have said in the past and being able to condense that down, but it can't compute. Like it's incapable of doing that. And so you have this like weird world now where it's like if you're a student and you're looking for help with your homework, it's like AI can help you write an essay that's really smart on Shakespeare, but
Yeah.
it can't solve a basic math problem.
Really?
And you're like, wait,
That seems
computers can't do
counterintuitive.
math? It's like
Yeah.
computers, yeah, the computer can't do math, but the computer can do humanities. And that's the thing, is like AI is really good for subjectivity,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
really bad for objectivity.
Oh, that's
And it's
fascinating.
like, yeah, which is opposite of a blockchain, right? Blockchain's not that good
Sure.
at subjectivity, but blockchain is very good at objectivity.
Well, bring them together.
Yeah.
Something might happen there.
Yeah.
I have a couple directions I can go.
Let's go.
Virgin Brain is arguing tokens aren't securities. Chad Brain is arguing that tokens hold promise as being a decentralized, democratized tool for anyone to invest, like the ultra rich who oppose them. So you're in favor of tokens being securities. That's what you're getting at, right?
That's a good question. Wait, repeat my tweet back to me one more time.
What
Yeah.
the hell was I talking about?
Yeah,
right?
what was I? What I mean by this one? Yeah. Can you explain
Chad
it to
Brain
me?
is arguing
Let me
that
ask AI quickly what I meant by this.
Chad Brain is arguing that tokens hold premise as being a decentralized, democratized tool for anyone to invest, like the ultra rich bankers who oppose them.
Yeah.
So basically, tokenizing anything.
So I think that there's a few ways to look at this. Like
One
is like we don't really need tokens. Like but you need
you've said that a bunch too. That's a good one. I like that.
You need ETH or USDC. You need like one token, but like once you have an internet currency that can operate on a blockchain, it's like anyone can just base their entire protocol off that token.
So L2s don't need tokens.
That's a big debate, right? Like that's an ongoing debate, is like to what degree, because like L2s, their gas token is ETH, right? Like that's what's paying gas. So they're not protocol tokens that are like staking and validating their services. So then the question is like, what is that token for? Is it for governance, like the OP token? Is it going to have other properties as well? Will it also be used to stake in addition to ETH? Like you can make cases for them having tokens, but yeah, like could you come up with an L2 that had no token? Sure. Like it would just be ETH, right? So like one is to say like we don't really need tokens, and it's like you can still derive a lot of value without having them, because you can just take a cut of ETH, right? Or you can use ETH to restake on things with eigenlayer. And so I think like that's one path. But the other is to say like tokens are this exciting thing. Like if you think about like I want to start a new business and I want anybody who believes in me to be able to invest in it, and they'll get a cut of the business. And then they get future dividends and revenue from it. And like I kickstart my business immediately. It's like Kickstarter with actual ownership, right?
And attached to a smart contract. So
and
like,
it's attached to
automating everything.
Right. And it's like, what is going to represent your share of that business? It's like you need something. And so that's probably a token, right? That's your share of the business. And so it's just like, if tokens were equity and tokens were securities, it would just allow this flourishing of the economy at a local regional level, I would say. Like you don't need to go to VCs for your smaller company, because you can go to friends and family, and it's like you don't need a lawyer, right, to do all that. It's all just automatically embedded in the smart contract. And it's just like that's illegal. Like you can't do any of that. Like the whole idea of like ownership any sort of like dividend rights being available to anyone who's not an accredited investor is just like totally off the table in the United States. So it's like we're just blocking all of that because we want all those rights to be exclusively available to rich people and companies that pay tons of money to lawyers and IPO services. And so it's sad. Yeah.
Is it because speculators tend to take over and just fuck everything up, kind of?
I think I think it's a mix of different things. I think it's partly lawmakers not being very good at technology.
Yeah,
I think crypto is also a threat to the U.S. dollar and in some ways to the U.S. economy. And so
yeah,
like there is a legitimate fear from the American empire about like what this represents, that creates incentives not to support it. But it's sad because it's like, you look at GMX or something like a token like that, where it's like, what, paying dividends to holders.
sure.
It's like, there's just, in my mind, I'm not a lawyer, I can't give legal advice, but like, I'd be shocked if that was legal in the US. At the same time, you're like, this is cool. It's like, it's pretty cool that you can like go participate in this thing and then start getting cuts from the business that you're supporting. And that goes back to our, our position, the question before about like, how do you create a new social media site where you're not harvesting your users' data and selling it to advertisers? Well, like part of that is like, well, what if they own it with you and they share in the revenue with you? And it's just like you creating way better aligned incentives. And then you're like, oh yeah, this is illegal. Like this isn't kind of fly. And so like what is really cool with tokens and the stuff that really does excite me by tokens, I just can't do any of it because I'm American, right? Like that's just not where my future is going to be in crypto, because of my nationality, and that sucks.
Well, gotta live by the laws of the land, right?
Yeah, I don't have a choice, right? But like, it sucks.
What? So where do you think that goes? I mean, does crypto go completely overseas?
No, but token.
Or do the big brains in crypto bring their business and their funds overseas?
Yeah, I mean, like
Or to other
tokenomics,
countries?
really cool tokenomic design goes overseas. Like cool shit with tokens will not happen in the US, right? That's gonna happen. But even like, it's pretty normal. Like a lot of the foundations for L2s, etc., like they won't hire Americans. Like it's too much of a risk for them. And you hear this over and over. It's like, people are doing interviews and like, final interview question is like, oh, by the way, are you American? And if you're American, they're not gonna hire you. Like you're out of work in this industry because it's too dangerous for you to be there. And so, yeah, I think we'll see that like at other levels as well. The irony is like most of the really great crypto innovation to date, a lot of it has really happened in the US, but like there's just, there aren't a lot of incentives for that necessarily to keep happening. And Asia, and we really, man, in the States, we really just underestimate what's happening in Asia right now. And just like, how much crypto is thriving and like really does have incredible avenues of there as well.
Nice. You were in Japan recently, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right, so what were some takeaways?
Oh my God. I didn't have a tweet about this you can quote. I think I was just
thing. Tell me about like the crypto culture in Japan / Asia versus here.
I mean the biggest barrier there is the same as the biggest barrier here, which is just like getting people to get a wallet and know how to use that wallet. Right. It's like it's the equivalent of like having to buy a computer to use the internet in the 90s. Like, will it ultimately happen? Yes. Is it like easier to get a wallet than to buy a computer? Yes. Like, this is not a long-term barrier, but it is a short-term one. And we probably need better UI UX. And so like
definitely.
Right. And so I think that was just a lot of conversations is like, I was talking to like DAO people there and they're like, we have all these use cases. We have these communities that really are excited. We can like start monetizing, but nobody wants to use a wallet.
Really?
And so I think, look,
why not? Is it just the UI UX or is it the custodial ownership of?
I think
it's like putting their funds.
Right. I think that's it.
Their life savings on chain.
Right, because it's like, you buy a computer to use the internet, but you have to collateralize that computer with all of your life savings. It's like a little scary. And you're like, is this worth it? So yeah, I think there's a lot of fear. I think that what was interesting was just realizing that the UI UX barrier is still, as much as we talk all the time about, as much as I'm talking about regulation being a barrier and, American government being a barrier, it's like, in some ways, the biggest barrier is still ourselves. Like, in some ways, the biggest barrier is still like our own. We haven't built better shit.
Yeah, I mean, the technology there. It's just like you said, UI UX, the experience. I know some Asian countries are certainly like have tighter regulations. Japan, in particular, versus like Vietnam, where it's fair game essentially.
Japan just released a statement about a month ago saying that they're very pro crypto actually. So it's a great turning point. There was a lot of questions a couple of years ago about where Japan was going to stand. It's obviously a highly regulatory environment in Japan anyway. But they came out and basically were pretty in favor of experimentation. And I think we're going to increasingly see that. Like anyone who's outside the US, like being able to give, better technological access to a new industry in a way that creates supply chains and like, new financial rails is like, especially if you're an economy that's pegged to the dollar, like that's pretty exciting to have an alternative to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And as adoption increases, particularly over there and ease of use, all that, I would imagine there's like the growth of the number of builders, developers is gonna grow exponentially, probably more than here, especially if there's more incentives and just more easy. Well, yeah, just more incentives. Where does that take the future of crypto? I mean, is it going to change? I mean, it clearly can change finances, but will it change culture as well?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the exciting thing is like that's another point where you mix AI with crypto, because it's like what both crypto and AI are doing, they're different in tons of ways, but they're both massive agents of globalization.
Sure.
Like for better or for worse, like both of them are based, like blockchains are based on like distribution of permissionless resources and collaboration anywhere in the world. Like you now can collaborate, work with, collude, however you want to call it, for anybody with a global economic system that anybody can help run and participate in, right? And so that's a massive move towards globalization. And AI is effectively saying anybody can speak to each other in any language, and we can like source, it's like the Tower of Babel, right? It's like we can source like any information from any language and put it into yours. And so you now have access to every culture in the world, whereas before you only had access to yours, right? And so like you put those two things together, and it's like the ability for you now to like collaborate with someone in Vietnam who doesn't speak a word of English, right? And you don't speak Vietnamese. Like you're now able to work together and like build shit permissionlessly together through these like different ways of working. And like so it really moves us towards a remote future in which culture is really internet native and culture is really not local. And like that was something I even felt a little bit in Japan, was like I was like, oh, this is the best place I've ever been to. Like, I'm like the white guy in Japan, right? I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this culture just runs so much better. It's so much more efficient. Like, I love it here. And then I'm talking to like everyone who's in their 20s, like young and like who's Japanese. And there are almost everyone I spoke to is like, I want to leave. Like, I want to get out of here. This is conformist to like, I'm on the internet all day and I'm seeing what's going on in the rest of the world. And like, I feel really isolated here. And so like, that was also, it's anecdotal, based on how I'm talking to people, but it's like, that was still really interesting to think.
That's
like
an eye opener.
Yeah. The internet is the global culture.
Yeah.
And like, that's what both blockchains and AI are very, very much a product of.
Sure. What you're saying though, I mean, in terms of access to culture with no language barriers, I think will ultimately be a shock to American culture.
Yeah.
Right, because we're so ethnocentric. We just believe that the whole world is looking at us, and everything is everyone wants to be American. But once we're exposed to other cultures, and they have less barriers to our society and culture through a global, I guess, society. I think it'll change things a lot. It'll stir the pot.
Yeah, completely.
I mean, we think of the U.S. as like a mixing pot, but at the same time, it's still, you still got to fit in here to you still have to be American to fit in here, sort of, right?
Oh yeah,
where that's not going to be as necessary anymore.
No, not at all, and like, which is, I think, great.
Yeah, totally cool.
Yeah.
Right, that's a wild concept.
Sport heterogeneity, right? Like that's the concern. The concern is like globalization and stuff like blockchains and AI homogenizes everything. It reduces it to like a common language, and it destroys your local traditions, and you're no longer in touch with those because you're in touch with the internet instead. So that's the danger. But the flip side is to say it also puts us more in touch with each other to be able to understand and, I don't know, trade and, like appreciate maybe. So like hopefully, there's a way that it encourages.
Yeah, of course, there's pros and cons. We might be moving towards a singularity, huh?
Right. I hope not.
Exactly. Do you I forgot what I was just going to ask you about that. Do you have so what, did you see anything like super innovative while you were, it was Tokyo, NFT Tokyo?
It was East Tokyo. East
East
Tokyo.
Tokyo. Okay. So
Yeah.
like any sort of innovations that would sort of blow my mind.
Probably not. I think what was maybe more interesting is not the big picture of big developments and releases. I do think like there's been some cool stuff in the past week of innovations that we're starting to see again in the space, like Blur's NFT collateralization market is really cool, and like Lens building on Bundler and Arweave is really cool. But like within East Tokyo, I think what was just noticeable is like everyone is like, this is the best hackathon I've been to. Like people kept saying like, this is the best group of hackers we've seen. Right. And so it's like, yeah, some of those are like global, but it's like the fact that you are in, of course, a culturally predominant country, but also in some ways a smaller, more isolated one, and you have all the best hackers there is like really points to the way that crypto in some ways started as a kind of American phenomenon in some ways, and it's really moving away from that.
Yeah, that must have been cool to see.
Although never forget the first investors in Ethereum were basically all Asian funds, right?
Yeah, so. That's right. Based on your tweets, I had to ask a question. Yeah. Do you have any aspirations to be the crypto lead character?
No, never be the lead character on the internet. That's Kobe. Should be Kobe.
Should be Kobe.
It should be Kobe. No, I would like to be like the Yorick. With like in the Hamlet that is crypto Twitter. I'd like to be Yorick. Just like the gesture staring at the skull. I think is like I really like that to be.
Wasn't Yorick also?
Yeah.
Didn't he also foresee, like, basically see the future?
Is he prophetic? Right? I don't think he's prophetic. I think he's just trying to piss, if I remember.
Oh, right.
He's trying to find a place to piss, and it's like the door's blocked. Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
That's you. Actually, just trying to get a bagel.
Yeah. Just trying to get a bagel.
Do you have I guess in Web3, do you have a dream project? Do you have something that you'd really want to, that you just have thought about, or you've seen it from afar that you want to work on?
What I'm working on, that's what I'm doing it, right? It's like it's the most exciting thing I've ever worked on in my life, and like it's just like to get to work on it every day. And then I think part of the reason that like Joke Race is really exciting me is I keep discovering new properties about it that I hadn't envisioned.
Yeah,
and that's when you're like, okay, this is cool. Like I'm the person who came up with this thing originally, and it's like
never thought of all the applications. Yeah.
Right. And I haven't really conceived of like what this could be. Then that's a good sign that it's like, it's just intellectually exciting.
That's pretty awesome. When you first thought about it and first developed it, did you sort of have this idea that there will be things that I haven't thought of yet?
It definitely, in the sense that it was like originally I was just trying to come up with like a way for people to play a game by telling bad jokes. And so, and like the original idea, right, was like there was going to be like an AI. There was an AI component. There was an AI funny bot that you would compete with, and it would try to like out funny you, and then you would collateralize your jokes, and like you'd lose all your collateral to the funny bot if it won. And then other people could support the funny bot if they wanted to, and then the funny bot would train on the jokes every week and get smarter. And so I was like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. Like this is gonna be so much fun to build this stupid thing. Right. And so like I wrote out this, this is like late 2021. I'm in Brooklyn in this like cold room, and I'm like on paper and pen. I like take an hour to write this out. And then I look at it and I was like, wait. A way for anybody to submit and then vote on their favorite submissions. I was like, that's just DAO governance. Like this is like, and then after DAO governance for like 6 months, I was like, wait, that's not just DAO governance. That's like future roadmaps. That's hackathons. That's grants, right? And so it's like, the nice part of this is like when you're enough of an idiot like I am, then you don't not to see everything. Then you get constantly surprised when you do. So it's like
I think a lot of it has to do with just keeping an open mind as well, being creative and having an open mind.
But the trick of that also is like you don't want to change your roadmap, right? You don't want to like get 2 years in and then be like, actually, we're redesigning this. It's to create something that like is so flexible and modular that it's like it can go all these different directions at once. And I really think like a good example of that's like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the prime use case for ChatGPT? You know, what's its prime vertical? Like, there is none, because it's just this really extensible tool that can be used for all these different purposes. And so being able to come up with something like that's really cool, because it's like, I'm sure this is how like Sam Altman feels or whatever. It's like ChatGPT is just being used for all these things that nobody anticipated, and like that's the sign that you've created something really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, right? It's like never ending. It's
Never ending.
basically like a reproducing organism.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty sweet. I have to ask, do you have a favorite comedian?
Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton. No one's gonna even know who that is.
Shock Toddy? I don't know. What do we want here? You want like stand up?
No, whatever. I don't care. But Buster Keaton.
Yeah, I don't know. Buster Keaton's
like
great.
from the like 1920s, 30s.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah, 1920s. Right. Yeah. You know who Buster Keaton is. Yeah,
I do. I think he's the guy who hung from the clock.
Yeah. No. That's sorry. No, that's Harold Lloyd. Hanging from the clock. Yeah. But similar era. Yeah. Buster Keaton is just a master of physical comedy. But you're right to associate him with the clock, because it was Daredevil. It was basically like an action superstar in the sense of doing these like absolutely death-defying stunts. You know, like having a house fall on top of him, but it's just a little window. Body, so he's safe. You know. And it's like, if he mistimed that shot, he would have died. Like, it was all just done through like engineering. So it's like, he's great because it's a combination of like technical engineering plus like action movie star plus like extreme comedy. It's
also just the creativity to think of all that.
Incredible.
Yeah. That clock scene, by the way, Buster Keaton or not.
Yeah. Harold Lloyd. Yeah.
Harold Lloyd. You ever see how they did it?
No, I don't think I did.
Full optical illusion.
No way.
Yeah.
See, that's why Buster Keaton's better, because Buster Keaton did all the stunts.
Full optical illusion. It was filmed on a rooftop and perspective like drawn back.
Oh, that's great.
So it looks like he's way above the city, like throughout the whole shot. Check it out.
I love that.
Yeah. It's wild. All right, cool. I'll have to check out some Buster Keaton.
Gotta go. Yeah. Gotta be Buster Keaton maxing.
My old time, I don't have much reference to old time comedians, but I totally appreciate the Marx Brothers.
I love Marx Brothers.
Oh my God. My dad introduced me to them when I was a kid. And I think it probably shaped my view on comedy through.
Just don't ever read about their personal lives and you'll be good.
Okay. We won't talk about that, I guess.
It's really, really awful. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Pretty tragic. But yeah, as comedians, oh my God, they're the best. Yeah.
Nice. as stage actors. Anything else you want to add today, David?
Mel Brooks. You got to do a shout out to Mel Brooks also. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks still going strong. Have you seen the new History of the World series?
I haven't. I need to. Is it?
It doesn't suck. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Okay.
It's pretty good. And you'll there's tons of familiar characters and actors, and it's
okay,
worth a watch. If you like the original, the movie, watch the series.
Yeah, the dumber the comedy, the better. So this seems pretty dumb. So I think
it's pretty dumb.
I can fuck with it.
Nice, man. Thanks for taking the time today, man. This is awesome.
This is awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Anything else? By the way, where can people find you?
davidphelps.substack.com. In case Twitter goes under tomorrow, or Twitter at divine_economy.
All right, we'll have to talk about the origin of that next time. Thank you, David. Great chatting.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.